Hi, everyone, and welcome to History Room Live. My name is Jill. I'm the archivist and special collections librarian in the Saginaw History and Genealogy Room at Patten Free Library. I've been looking forward to this presentation for weeks, maybe even months. A couple months back, the Bath Old Ladies Home came up during one of our discussions, and you all were really eager to know more. So today we have more information about this really interesting institution. Maegan Rice has been working on an internship project to arrange and describe the Old Ladies Home collection, which includes both the records of the home and the personal papers of one of its residents. When Maegan wraps up her internship in a few weeks, she will produce a finding aid for the collection. If you're unfamiliar with an archival finding aid, the best way I can explain it is by comparing it to a book. If you think of the archival materials as the body of the book, the finding aid is the title page, the preface, the author bio, the table of contents, and the index. So it's a little bit of information to help you contextualize and locate the materials in a collection like this one. You could say that archivists are like publishers in that our work prepares materials for use by the public. Ultimately, we will make a record for this collection in the Minerva catalog, just like we do for books. And through that record, you'll be able to download a PDF copy of the finding aid that Maegan will produce. Usually that's the extent of the work that we'll do, but this program is just a golden opportunity to hear more from Maegan about what she has learned during this process. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Maegan. Once she completes her internship, she will graduate with a bachelor's in Information and Library Science from UMaine Augusta. And that's also Karen's alma mater. So we know that they produce some awesome graduates. Maegan is from Woolwich. She recently moved to Bath, and she works at Georgetown Pottery. So I think that's a pretty great local perspective. Also, when Maegan and I first started working with this collection, I learned that she, earlier in her career, worked in nursing homes, which means that she brings valuable insight to this unique collection. As if that weren't enough, you may also recognize Maegan from our circulation staff. So I should let her speak for herself at this point. So go ahead, Maegan, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm really excited as well. So Jill did a great job introducing me and what I do and what I've been doing with the History Room, and I have a lot of great things to show you guys today. So I'm going to bring that up on my screen. Let me know if you can't hear me or see what I'm doing here. Okay, with me. Yes, let me know if you can't. Okay.
Oh, we see it. Yep.
So I love this photo. Everyone can see it? Okay. So the photograph that Jill used for this presentation, I wanted to just point out to everyone first, because there's not a whole lot of photographs for this, the Old Ladies Home. It was at 800 High Street. It used to be right next to Morris High School. It was torn down in the 90s. I think it was 1996 when they built the vocational school that's attached to the high school. I'm not sure if anyone remembers this building, but it was beautiful. So I wanted to make sure we looked at that first. And then here's another photograph. 1905. The home had been around for about years. At this point, they opened it in 1875. So, ladies' home, it was meant for old ladies that were from Bath throughout the community that wanted a place to live for the rest of their lives. They were all elderly women who were usually, they had been nurses, seamstresses, they were housewives, just that wanted a place to live in their older years. And you can see these women didn't typically have a lot of money, and one of the requirements for moving into this home was to pretty much prove your assets, and they had to have enough funds to be able to live there for the year along with a projected few years so that it was a stable place to live for them and the home. And then I just want to show you this too. This is a picture of the parlor, also in 1905, which is really neat. The picture on the left, that is Charles Davenport, excuse me. There were a lot of Davenports. If anyone's familiar with the Davenports in Bath, there were many. But Charles Davenport is the gentleman that the City Hall is named after. When his son passed away, he gave the city $10,000 to build the City Hall. And that's the gentleman in that portrait. So there's that. And then I know the home had a piano donated at one point. I don't know if this is the piano that was donated, but I just thought it was neat that there's a piano in the parlor. So when the old ladies' home first opened, a big part of why it was able to open was because of Mrs. Mary Ledyard. She was a member of the community who really, when she passed away in 1877, she donated, I think it was a little over $14,000, $14,500 to the city of Bath to make this home happen. Back then, that was an extreme amount of money. The community also raised $25,000, and with the two amounts combined, they were able to purchase the home in 1877. And the home was where it was until 1973, when it was absorbed by the Plant Home, the Plant Memorial Home, which, as we know, is still where it is. And I would safely say that the old ladies' home probably wouldn't have been where it was without Mary Ledyard. So it's extremely important to recognize that. This was in little booklets that we found in the collection that has the rules of the home and things. So I wanted to make sure everyone saw this. When the home was dedicated, Reverend A.F. Beard was supposed to go to the dedication, but as I read in a newspaper article in 1875, he was unable to attend. I'd written a letter to the old ladies' home for the dedication, and I just thought it was really interesting. I'll just read the first couple of sentences. It's really hard to read on the slide. We all grow old, time flies so fast. We know not that the years have passed. We live, we love, then we behold that somehow we are growing old. And what I found in the collection was a 4-page poem handwritten by Reverend Beard, and it was also published in the Bath Times, Bath Daily Times, in November 1875, right after the dedication. Please let me know if I'm going too fast too. I want you guys to be able to see all of these really great documents Another piece in the collection was this enormous treasurer's log, and with beautiful penmanship. It's probably up 2 inches thick. And this is one of the pages from that, the treasurer's log. And I found as I was reading through that there were a lot of lines that show the residents' names and the dues that they had paid. I think it was for the month. As you can see on the left, it's $1, $1, $1. But then I also thought it was really interesting that they wrote things they purchased, like potatoes and fish, supplies, milk. They logged everything when they had a medical examination, you know, maintenance done to the building. They all put it in here. This was 1876, so it was shortly after they had opened. A lot of names, recognizable ones too, throughout the community. I see a Sewell, White. So getting into the application process for the old lady's home, this was in a stack of blank applications, which was neat because it kind of shows you what, you know, it was interesting the questions they asked and almost what they didn't ask for. This is an example of a blank application. A lot of things about you know, personal properties and real estate. So here on the left is one filled out. I know it's small. I just wanted to add these 3 in together because they do pertain to the same woman. There's Flora Robins, and it actually wasn't at the very beginning where this was pulled from. I wasn't able to find a lot of applications from a chunk of time, and this one was unique because not only do you have the application, you have the doctor's note, which was also required by the home to have a physical exam before you applied or before you were admitted. And then on the right, it looks like it's a letter of recommendation for financial reasons. If you read the doctor's note, it just gives, you know, a brief description of Mrs. Robins' health. And unfortunately, it looks like on the right, she was not accepted into the home because of her Parkinson's disease. So from what I've gathered reading the applications, you know, there were a lot of women that were accepted into the home, but they were pretty strict on health conditions. It wasn't a home necessarily meant for people that needed a lot of nursing help or medical help, you know, right away. But they were certainly more than welcome to live there. And if they were to become sick there, they would stay there for the rest of their lives. But it seems like they took that really, you know, they took that into consideration right off the bat, right in the beginning. So this is the little booklet from the same part I showed you, Mary Lanyard's will. So these are the rules for the inmates. They called them inmates instead of residents in the 1800s. And I just wanted to point out action 1, they shall endeavor by a quiet, gentle, and ladylike deportment to diffuse cheerfulness and good feeling throughout the home, and by acts of kindness and forbearance to gain the esteem and promote the comfort and happiness of each other. So as I read through these, it really sounded like one of the main goals for the women in the home was to really, you know, be kind but work together. I know there's one rule that if a woman became ill, it was another woman's job essentially to help her make her bed, keep her room up, you know, tidy. It also says in here that all of the furniture in the rooms were required to be provided by the women when they moved in. It wasn't furnished. You had to bring your own furniture, except I think a nightstand. They offered nightstands. But when someone passed away, the furniture was to be kept in the home or to benefit the home. And I think there's another page of these. Yep. Section 10, washing and ironing shall, if practicable, be done on Mondays and Tuesdays of each week. So it was very organized. And this is a photograph of the inside of one of the bedrooms. So I just really like the details on the bureau, the photographs, you know, the style, 1905. That was, again, only 30 years after the home had opened and a very long time ago. So. And this is a group of women that lived there in 1905. Jill and I were looking at this the other day. Assumed that it was probably not winter because they look kind of warm and they're not bundled up, but we're not sure on the month. I mention that in particular because one of the women that lived at the home I'd really like to focus on. She lived there until 1905. She passed away in April of 1905. Her name was Mabel Cushing Rouse. And if it's a good time to start talking about her. I can do so. She lived at home for 15 years. She's not in this photograph that we know of, but it was around the same time frame. She lived there for about 15 years, from 1890 to 1905. Mabel Cushing Rouse, she was born to William Rouse and also Mabel Cushing Rouse. So she was named after her mother, which is pretty neat. On October 8th, 1816, she was born. She had two older brothers, William Rouse Jr. and James Rouse, and she had a younger sister, Mary Bradford. Mabel Cushing Rouse, she was never married, she never had children, and according to her death certificate, she was a seamstress. So why I'm bringing her up is because in this collection, I'll show you the next slide now, we have 7 journals and books from Mabel Cushing Rouse. They're beautiful, neat, leather-bound journal from, this one was from 1891 to 1904. And I really wanted to take some time to talk about her because of her journals. She documented not only information such as the weather, poems. She had written down information about people that lived at the home during her stay. Whenever someone fell ill, she would write about that. And it's just a really, really great piece to the collection. This particular journal I really wanted to share because she created an index in the beginning of the journal. So the very first page, you know, it tells you what's on every page in the entire thing. She always wrote about the weather. She always wrote about her church services. And she actually had a list of checked out library books, which I thought was really neat. And let's see, so this is an example of a poem. I thought it was appropriate, titled Autumn. And I picked this one to share with you all because she had written down other people's work in her journals. You know, she copied down other poems other people had written, and she always wrote who had written the poem. This one did not have an author, so I'm not sure who wrote it. I don't know if she had written it herself or if it was someone else's work, but I just thought everything about it was really beautiful. These are other poems that were in the journal that were written by William Rouse Jr. One's titled To My Mother, one's titled To My Sister. Now, she had a brother named William Rouse Jr., but I can't confirm that these were written by him. I can assume that. She had rewritten the poems that she had received from him years prior. We're not sure on that part, but nevertheless, they're really beautiful. Another thing she had written in her journals, and she had documented all of the United States presidents from President Washington all the way up until her current time. She documented when they were born, when they passed away, how old they were, inauguration date, their length in terms, and why it ended. And it looks like on these pages they all expired after about 8 years. That one's 4 years. Yeah, you can see. Pretty neat. And then this page was in the back of a journal. I realized looking at this that it's not in chronological order, but they are names of residents that had passed away while she stayed at the old lady's home. That must have been interesting, sometimes difficult. Nice. And she did always, like I had said, she had always written about when someone was sick. So she obviously, you know, she cared very much for her women friends at the home. And this has a lot of names as well. And I'm not sure if anyone knows how to knit. I've tried. Maybe again, I will try again. But these are old knitting patterns that she had written in one book. The cover is on the left. This is an example on the right. I don't know what any of it means, but if you know how to knit, I'm sure you are very familiar with what it says. What's great about these knitting patterns is that a member from our community in the Patten Free Library Knitting Club had created what's called the Fancy Mitt. Janine Lipford, she created this past year from a pattern in one of the journals. And it's really pretty, pretty unique. So there's a little bit of information about the old lady's home. I put this slide on there so that you can jot this down in case you're not familiar with how to reach Jill at the library, but everything I've shown you is in the collection in the history room that you're more than welcome to check out. So I'll exit my screen sharing and see if anyone would like me to go back to any of the slides too. If you want to see any of the pictures again.